Hey, we're Against the Current and we're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
This has been a long time coming. I've been a fan of you guys for such a long time. My original channel was Punk Videos Rock, which is super focused on the pop punk Warped Tour scene. And that's where I kind of first discovered you guys back in like 2012. So thank you for making this happen. And I'm very excited to talk to you guys about the new single because this new era of Against the Current is exciting. So
thank you.
What's up, guys?
What's up? It's nice to finally meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us all this time.
Yeah,
absolutely. So let's talk about this new era, this new material that you guys have been working on, and talk to me a little bit about Weapon and just the creative process of it. Just because I know it's been about a year since you wrote the song. So from writing the song to now the release, like how much of the song has kind of changed?
What was crazy is that this was the first song that we wrote during. So That Won't Save Us was the first song that we wrote with our producer, Matt Squire, back in January last year. And then the guys and I, ventured down to outside of DC. We wrote a couple songs, and then we were planning our next trip when all the started happening. We remember being in the studio and it was getting a little scary. And I think Matt was more scared than we were. And we were like, oh, what, it's whatever, it's fine. And then all of a sudden it was like, all right, well, we're not going back in the studio. And so at that point, when I talked to our A&R, Johnny, it was, he was like, nobody's writing right now. This was mid-March or early March. He's like, yeah, nobody's writing. Because everyone was like, is it going to be a couple weeks? Is it going to be a month? What's the deal? And then Matt decided, let's just give this a shot. Let's just set up a Zoom session, see what we can do. No one had any of the tech or the plugins figured out that everybody's got access to now. So it was just kind of like, let's just, mess around, see if anything happens. If not, no pressure, whatever. We'll probably be back in the studio next month, which is funny because obviously not. But at the time, that's what we were thinking. And then literally the first song that we wrote was Weapon. And that was the first song that came out. And it's changed a bit, I would say, more so in the verses. I think the choruses are pretty true to the original when it comes to lyrics and melody. I don't know, Will, you can probably talk more about the music and how that changed over the last year.
Yeah. So I guess we had That Won't Save Us and Weapon, kind of in demo stages at the same time. But then we decided to roll out That Won't Save Us first, which I think was actually we really benefited from that for Weapon, because Weapon was super strong and super exciting. I mean, we were super excited about That Won't Save Us too, but we got to kind of work through the kinks and figure out what the sonics were exactly and the process on That Won't Save Us. So I feel like Weapon, once we got to that one, it really benefited from that. And which is also why I feel like the sounds so cohesive and the two songs just go together so well. I mean, we were just vibing on it for a while. We spent so much time on That Won't Save Us, and we spent so much time on Weapon, which is awesome. I mean, the whole thing kind of allowed us to do that finally. We're in our home studio right now, so just all day, all night, just messing with stuff and getting it exactly the way we wanted it. But yeah, I mean, not much change from the demo. The demo was awesome. The chorus was never touched. It was always just so dope.
And you recorded the drums in the dining room.
Oh
of the
yeah,
house,
so
right?
Almost everything was recorded here. But we did drums at our friend's house down the road. But Weapon, everything but the vocals were recorded here in our house, which is pretty cool. And then Chrissy's vocals were done in her apartment. So
yeah. And I had no experience running a DAW at all, or just doing anything, even just adjusting my preamp. I tried to learn Pro Tools when I was 14, 15. And then once I met the guys, they were already way past where I was with recording. So I just kind of gave way to let them do their thing. So for me, I was just oh shit, this is going to be rough. So definitely a small personal accomplishment to see it actually see the light of day.
Urgency always helps.
Just getting thrown in the deep end.
Yeah.
Would you say that your vocals were pretty much recorded last then until you kind of figured out how to do that process?
They were actually recorded a few times. I think That Won't Save Us, we re-recorded the vocals many times as we did different rewrites. And it was kind of how Will was explaining with time was a little bit more unlimited. Like we didn't have a set date anymore. There wasn't like, oh, we've planned the tour for this time, so the album needs to be done by this so it can be out before the tour. Like nothing like that existed. There was no time constraints. So just from recording and re-recording the vocals, I got more practice, but a lot of the vocals are the original demo vocals. I would say all the choruses are the original demo vocals. The bridge was rewritten later, so that's more recent. And a lot of the verses were re-recorded, but the original like lyrics and melodies. But the choruses are definitely the original demo vocals from pretty much exactly a year ago.
What kind of impact would you guys say that like not being able to tour had on the writing process? Just because I feel like majority of the time bands write while they're on the road when they're starting to write, and I feel like the live show that audience feel kind of inspires something to keep the writing flowing. But did you guys feel like that it impacted your writing process any way, the fact that you weren't able to tour, you weren't able to perform?
I feel like we needed it. I mean, we were in such like pivotal like moment in our career, and like just like as a band, so many changes behind the scenes and musically too. I feel like I would be worried that if we were as busy as we usually are when making a record, that we would have made some mistakes and made some hasty decisions and made a record that we didn't want to make. And having all this time, I feel like we really got to like beat ourselves up and try a bunch of things so we could finally get to like, you know, That Won't Save Us from Weapon. Like I feel like such a clear and so much of that was kind of like the withdrawal from playing shows and being like, thinking back, like our earlier stuff, it was so much more energy and so much like more fun to perform live. So we're definitely like really focused on when we get to play the songs. So like when we're writing, we're thinking about all that now. And when we're producing the songs and everything, like how they're gonna happen live, you know?
Yeah, I think just because they were the first two songs or two of the first songs that we wrote doesn't mean that we just like went in and we knew what we wanted and we got it right on the first time. Like Will said, we had a lot more time to make mistakes behind the scenes instead of making those mistakes publicly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of demos. I mean, you know, and different sounds, like, you know, like that led us to kind of, you know, the direction we're going now.
Yeah.
Right.
Or we even, you know, we're like, okay, here's the first single. You know?
Yeah.
The fact that you guys brought Matt Squire in for these two tracks, you know, what was it about Matt? I mean, it's obvious why Matt Squire, but like for you guys, what was it about Matt Squire that made you guys want to work with him for this era? And, you know, what was that chemistry like with him, whether it was like physically in the studio or through these like Zoom sessions?
So the first time that I wrote with Matt for That Won't Save Us, to start That Won't Save Us, it was kind of just our A&R Johnny Minardi just saying, hey, take a train down to, you know, right outside DC, write with Matt. He's written a lot of the albums and worked with a lot of the bands that have influenced you guys and influenced your, you know, your scene. Just go see if you vibe with him. And that's always kind of been how Johnny and our manager Gabe have treated like co-writes for us and producers. Just see if you vibe, you know, no pressure. And then That Won't Save Us came out first day. So it kind of was like, okay, like there's good chemistry here. We were writing it just in the basement of his house. We weren't even in his studio at that day. It was just the two of us in the basement of his house. Like I went to dinner with like his kids. Like it was, you know, it was very chill and fun. And yeah, That Won't Save Us came out. And then it was like, all right, let's keep writing. And then Weapon happened once after happened. And the guys and I had already taken a trip down there together as four. And it was just like, this is the person that's going to pull this out of us. That's going to like pull the album that we want to make out of us. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us. And like I said, he's worked with so many of the artists that have influenced us and have influenced the music scene around us that we grew up in. So it makes a lot of sense to us.
I think actually, I definitely like threw his name out before making like both of our records, but I thought it was so unobtainable. I was always like, I would love to work with Matt Squire someday, but he was kind of like, he kind of just disappeared and was just like working and really like, you didn't know what he was doing or where he was. So I was like, it's so unobtainable, but like he's made so many of these incredible records of these bands that have influenced us so much. So it's kind of crazy that we're actually, you know, working with him now.
Yeah.
And he's such a cool, like excited dude. He's like
very
the most
excited.
excited,
A lot of energy.
Yeah.
Happiest, excited person ever.
He's
It's like
so
making a
happy.
song every day. It's like,
Wow.
yeah.
He's happy, which is good. You need that energy in like a studio setting.
So easy to work with too, with all of this. Like he's been pioneering like how to basically make music during all of this craziness in the
Right?
world.
Yeah.
Like literally, like he's been at the ground floor. So we're really lucky to have him on our team.
Yeah, for sure.
Dan, how would you say Matt Squire challenged you to become a better guitarist for this new material?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely way more guitar heavy in general. So I mean, just that's pretty much a given there. But we just had fun with it this time. I mean, me and Will were just hanging out here and just tracking guitars, trying stuff out. And Squire tried some stuff out too, and he got some good tones out of everything too. Once we turned everything in, so it was really cool. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
Matt's like a super. He's a really like creative guitar player too. Like
Yeah.
he always like both the songs were built off of like some kind of like simple guitar riff that was there, and it always stayed, and it was always like so pivotal to the song, which is awesome because I feel like we might have lost sight of it for a little bit, but like the core, it's always been like kind of like, you know, guitar, drums, and, you know, amazing like vocals. So he really helped us get back to that, I feel like, and it's and kind of like inspired us to take that further.
He's really just amazing with melody, whether it's like melodies on the guitar with riffs or vocal melodies or whatever it is. Like he's so good at melody, which is like, it's just key to any song. It's like those are the parts that get stuck in your head, whether you remember the words or not. As much as I'm such a lyrics nerd, so that like mildly pains me to say because I love lyrics so much, but it's really at the end of the day, it's like, what's the part that sticks with you, whether or not the lyrics are good? It's going to be the melody, even if it's a guitar melody or a synth melody or whatever it is.
Is it safe to say that Matt Squire is the main producer for album 3 if album 3 was in the works?
Yes. Safe to say.
Yeah.
And as you guys are working with him, like how, you know, because he was like basically the godfather for all of these bands that we grew up listening to. How, you know, what are you guys learning from these sessions with him? And how do you guys feel closer to that album that you guys have been wanting to make?
I think the thing that I have learned the most from Matt is being fearless to just throw a bunch of weird shit at the wall and see what sticks. I think Matt is never afraid to throw out an idea, even if it's like very left field. Because at the end of the day, it can always be brought back to center. And I think that fearlessness is really important. You know, it's important to have an idea in your head of where you want to go and to be focused. But at the same time, some people let that then dictate every single idea they throw out there and then are automatically checking, well, does this fit? Does this fit? Does this fit? Before they've even given it a chance. And Matt's just like, this might be super weird and crazy and wild, but like, just hear me out. Like this is and he comes in with like energy behind it. And I think whether or not the idea actually works, it just creates an environment in the studio where you're unafraid to kind of just throw anything out there. And that is so important because the idea that's like bubbling in the back of your head that you might think is like super weird and like, I don't know, maybe this doesn't fit, maybe it's not the right vibe. You throw it out there and then everyone's like, oh my God, that's sick, you know? And maybe before you would have fact checked yourself a little bit, or like, you would have been like, this isn't really like exactly what we were talking about, we were looking for. So maybe I won't say it. And I think that energy is important. And I think that's how Matt created some of these iconic moments in music, is because he was unafraid to try new things.
That's a good point. And the fact that, you know, you have him as your producer, co-writer as well. You've also experienced co-writing with Andrew Goldstein, another producer now, but he used to be in bands before that I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
And you've had Sarah Hudson, you've had Justin Tranter, you had Jesse St. John. Like having these different co-writing collaborations, like how would you feel like they impacted your writing process and even like the ranges that now you are able to take for this, you know, upcoming new material for Against the Current?
Dude, like all those names that you threw out there, Goldstein, Sarah, Jesse, Justin, like those were some of the most influential people I think that we worked with, like overall. So you really got the starting lineup right there. Got the A string. They're all amazing. I mean, Sarah and Jesse and Goldstein we had several songs with, I mean, and very different songs too. Like Sarah worked on Voices, and then she also worked on Personal, which are very, very different. And then the songs we wrote with Justin Trainer, I don't think actually ever came out, but
Outsiders.
yeah. Outsiders did. Yeah, Outsiders did. But the ones we wrote for the album didn't come out. But just writing with him was so impactful for, at least for me as a writer, as a top liner, and writing with all of them. They all are very different, but I think the one thing that was between the three top liners, between Sarah, Jesse, and Justin, for me, they were so positive and created such an atmosphere of creativity in the space in the studio, where it was kind of just like, let's get up and like run around the room and just yell things at each other and kind of just like say things out loud and throw out ideas, throw out words, throw out things. I remember Sarah like asking me just like how I felt, and that was really important for me because at the time we were in like kind of that writing gauntlet where we were writing with different people every single day. And a lot of the times top liners come in with an idea, which is amazing. But if as an artist, if you're somewhere else, it's really hard to put yourself in that emotion if you're experiencing something else. And Sarah kind of was just like, what are you feeling? Like, where are you? Where's your head right now? Where's your heart right now? And to me, that was so important. And it made me feel so seen and so heard as an artist. So I think all four of them and a lot of the amazing, writers and producers that we've worked with have just empowered us as the artist. And that gave us so much more confidence to be ourselves, but also to experiment and try things and push ourselves outside of our comfort zones. And yeah, I loved working with every single one of them. They're all amazing. So amazing.
I feel like I learned how to be a producer by watching like Andrew Goldstein, and before that, Tommy English. So, and with like, it's kind of like we're all producing. So it's really like really valuable, and stylistically too. I mean, like Goldstein has such a style to his producing, and you might not hear it necessarily on like, That Won't Save Us and Weapon, but like just the techniques. I mean, I know for like, I'm using those all the time. So, and he's such an amazing guitar player too.
Yeah. I mean, both Goldstein and Tommy are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I feel like it all definitely got us, here, whether or not it's stylistically, but they gave us the tools.
Yeah.
Right. Will, earlier you mentioned how these last two singles have been kind of cohesive. But I also noticed like the artwork is almost cohesive with the red and the fiery kind of feel. Do you guys already know the identity of this upcoming material? Is it like a storyline that fans can like follow or experience? Like, what can we expect, or what can they look forward to on this upcoming new material?
There's definitely a cohesive visual direction. There's some parts still being fleshed out. I think we're looking at the way we want to release this album is a bit different than we released our last two albums, but I can't really say more yet on how that's going to be. But definitely there's strong thematic elements. So like the fire, the door was in both videos. Now we have the introduction of the key, the color palette. So I think those are things you will continue to see woven through the rest of the releases.
I feel like it's kind of like it's writing its own story in a weird way.
Yeah, it is.
I mean? Like I haven't like said it to you guys, but even just looking through like comments and seeing like the connections that fans are making that we didn't intend, I feel like it's just kind of like it's gonna fuel us to like figure it out as we go, which is kind of cool. But like obviously there's a strong theme and everything, but like things are tying together more than we're even intending to, I feel like, which is kind of cool. What's happening.
I love that. I love fan theories and things like that. And I love seeing them because sometimes I'm just like, that's good. We should go on that. Like that's better. Like let's run with that idea. I think like, and that's the cool part about like releasing like over time and not just like writing everything in one big bulk and being like, here it is, it's done, it's this dynamic living thing. And the fans have always been such an integral part of our career. Like our career wouldn't exist without fans, obviously. So to have them kind of part of the narrative and imagining the narrative and weaving themselves into it is super cool to me. And it just creates this living, breathing thing, this living, breathing piece of art, as opposed to just dumping some concrete block and then it is what it is and that's it. Like, it's only this. So
Right. And I feel like because of those theories and comments that come up, you know, I feel like it kind of inspires you to expand a little more on certain topics that you've already talked about and released.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I guess it's like a good way to kind of like freshen up all over again. Now, I want to like throw it back to 2015 with you guys.
Whoa.
We go way back in time. And I want to talk about the Gravity EP because you guys were one of the first American bands to give 1OK Rock, specifically Taka, a chance at a collaboration with Dreaming Alone. And you know, that's
us the chance.
Yeah, he gave us a chance.
It worked out really well for all of us.
But like I'm curious like how that kind of happened, because that's been one of those bands that like have been just incredible. Like I'm such a huge fan of them as well. But like talk to me about like how that collaboration happened and what that collaboration experience was like for all of you.
So in like at 2014 Warped Tour, I think it was, is that the year we went to see In Crowd?
Yeah,
Was it
but they were
2014?
working with Tommy.
Yeah,
at the
Yeah,
time.
but before that, I had met him through Tyler Carter. So
Yeah.
Was it before that?
Yeah, but then-
at Warped Tour that year, because Tyler introduced me. We went to visit our friend's band at Warped Tour, and Tyler was there, and I knew Tyler a little bit, and then he was like, "Oh, meet my friend Taka," and I didn't know like, you know, anything about their band. That was the year they were playing Warped Tour, I think, for the first time. I think.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
Like they were in an arena. It was crazy.
Yeah, they were in an arena in Japan, and then like, you know, whatever maybe it was the.
It sounded like they were in an arena.
Yeah.
Warped Tour, yeah.
Yeah, and so I didn't know anything about them though, and it was just like, oh, here's my friend Taka. Okay, I got to go play the show, like hang out. And so Taka and I watched the set together, and then hung out at like the barbecue later. But it was funny because we were sitting there watching the set side stage, and he barely spoke English at the time, and like I obviously didn't speak Japanese, so it was kind of a lot of just like vibes and hand signs. But he was literally already one of the nicest person I've ever met. And like I was laughing like the whole time. He was so much fun to hang out with. And then when we were writing the Gravity EP, Dan, you said they were writing with Tommy too?
I think they were working with Tommy at Feldman's. Yeah,
they just did like the record, you know, like for like the US.
Yeah.
And Tommy just brought it up.
Yeah, we had Dreaming Alone, and Tommy was like, it would be cool if this was a duet because we just written this song.
And I think we were saying how like we had like a lot of like fans in like Asia, Japan, and I think he was probably just like, oh,
yeah. And we love touring Japan, and like it was like, oh, this is like a no-brainer then, you know, like let's do that. And he's one of the craziest live singers ever, like amazing. And I remember it's crazy to see how much he's changed and grown, and how his English has gotten, because this is in 2015. I remember Tommy telling us how he had to splice together the word bruised, because they don't have that sound in Japanese. They don't have the br sound. So he kept saying bluesed, and they had to like splice the word together to get the right sonic. And then we just did an acoustic version of Dreaming Alone on, you know, for Rock Sound, and it's up on YouTube. And, you know, Taka sang the whole thing in one take, and it was like flawless pronunciation, flawless pitch, flawless intonation, delivery, everything. I like got chills listening to it. I was like, maybe you should just sing the whole song. Like maybe I shouldn't be here. And then they let us open up for them in Japan for 2 nights at one of their stadium shows or arena shows. And it was just like the craziest thing that we've ever been a part of. It was unreal. And then they took us to that crazy sushi place. I don't know if you guys remember that, which was.
You never
remember that.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. That's changed my life forever, that sushi. But yeah, and that's the funny thing too, is like at the end of the day, like when you see them, like especially in Japan, anytime, but especially like, you know, at these stadiums in Japan, and they're such rock stars, and they're so like freaking cool. but then you meet them and they are literally the nicest people on the face of the earth. They are so sweet, so kind, so like fun to be around. So yeah, we feel like really lucky that Taka was down to sing on that song with us. And yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible track, and maybe Johnny and Gabe should bring him back for this new material and have
let's
another
go.
collaboration.
Yeah, round 2.
That'd be cool.
So, now that, this music is out now, like what can fans look forward to in the next couple months? Like, do you guys feel like there will be more singles dropping before anything else drops? Or do you guys want to focus on maybe doing some live shows from home? Like what can fans expect?
Probably both.
Yeah.
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're still working on music. So, just kind of like, and why not, give them to the people as they come,
Yeah.
and then see what happens.
Yeah. More music, more videos, hopefully a live stream. Well, yeah, definitely a live stream. We're planning that right now. And yeah, should be fun. More fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that we finally made this happen. And thank you all for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much.